Hey guys, I just hadn't made a video in a little while and wanted to say hello and maybe give you a quick update and kind of see where this goes. I got back from Free Spirit Gathering, I guess about a week ago, and I have been job hunting and writing and trying to spend a lot of time outside, doing archery stuff and hiking and whatever. Um, and Anyway, Free Spirit Gathering was, as always, amazing. It really is the highlight of my year, and I always leave with a lot to work on. I think pagan festivals have this reputation as being these free for all spaces where you go just to like have lots of meaningless sex and I don't know, like they're giant parties or something. And certainly there are parties if you want them, and there's meaningless sex if you want it. But that's that's never really been my interest, and it's so much more than that. To reduce the pagan festival movement to I don't know, some kind of giant party is really unfortunate, and I think it's missing the mark in a lot of ways. Um, I think of Free Spirit Gathering as a working festival. Um, I go to a lot of workshops, less and less the more years that I attend, simply because I find that I've attended most of the workshops that are offered, or I am familiar enough with the teacher's material to know what's suitable for me and what isn't. Um, but I spend a lot of time in ritual, I spend a lot of time in conversation. One of the reasons I love Free Spirit so much is because they're representatives of so many different kinds of pagan traditions and non-pagan traditions, that there are always a lot of people to talk to who are very challenging. And I always leave with a lot of questions, a lot of things I want to try, a lot of things that I should read, and usually a good half page full of email addresses and phone numbers for people who I want to keep in touch with. So it's really great. And one of the things that I always leave thinking about is this concept of pagan community and what that even means. If you follow my blog at thornthewitch.com, you'll see that I just blogged about this. This is a little bit different, maybe. This idea of community and what that means. This is a conversation that I've seen take place on YouTube, especially on Tumblr. Tumblr is this, like, if you're an internet person, which I guess we all are because we're on YouTube, Tumblr is sort of this really weird place on the internet that kind of mystifies me in a lot of ways. It's sort of like Twitter without a word count, where nobody posts original content, and when they do, it's like hyper liberal and really angry, which is fine. Like, I love that stuff, but that's just always kind of been my impression of Tumblr. When I first got a Tumblr a few years ago, it took me a long time to figure out what it was and what I was doing there and what anybody was doing there. And now it's fun, and I feel like I've got the hang of it, although I don't hardly ever reblog things, so I'm actually kind of bad at Tumblr. But anyway, I bring it up because people on Tumblr are always talking about the pagan community or the Wiccan community or whatever community. And I find that when they make statements about the pagan community, it's never reflective of what I've experienced. And it took me a while to figure out that when people online say the pagan community, usually what they mean is the online community. In fact, almost exclusively, they mean the online community. And again, as is my, I think, kind of my trademark, I'm not trying to disparage any community of people. I'm not trying to belittle online communities. It was just really strange for me, as someone who's really actively involved in other physical pagan spaces, to realize that when most people, I'm speaking anecdotally of course, but when most people, as I have observed, talk about pagan communities, they're talking about internet communities. And internet communities work in really, really different ways from, again, what I've observed. And often the dynamics are really different. The kinds of people involved are really different. And so anyway, I'm not really sure why I'm talking about this. It's just been on my mind lately. What is community and what constitutes community? Why is it that when I think about community, I don't necessarily think about Tumblr? I do think about YouTube increasingly, but mostly I think about my local community. I think about our local Pagan Pride Day. I think about festivals within the Southeast and the Northeast that I attend. I think about the people in my physical proximity. I forgot the noun I wanted just now. But anyway, all of those communities overlap, but they're all really different. And I have conversations with people about the pagan community and the state of the pagan community and what's important to the community, etc. And I find that it gets a little dangerous when we make statements about what's going on in the community, because we're usually talking about different kinds of people. One of my coven mates, for example, his experience with pagans has been very different from mine, I think largely because so much of my experience has taken place in group settings, whereas he has his particular training background with the groups that he's worked with, and then things that have gone on, like the student union or the college group when he was in college and that kind of thing. But he's never been to like a big scale festival, for example. Hasn't done like open rituals so much, that kind of thing. And when you don't do those things, which is not to say that you should do those things necessarily, but when you don't do those things, your perspective of what constitutes community is really different. If your entire experience of paganism exists on the internet, especially if it exists on something like Tumblr, again, which is like crazy land sometimes, your experience is, I think, I wanted to say narrow, but I'm not trying to be dismissive. It's just a specific kind of experience that doesn't necessarily apply. I find that it has parallels to the conversations that happen about like why Wicca is stupid and Wicca is shallow and Wicca is, all fluffy and white light and blessed bees and, karma, whatever. Like those kinds of conversations usually don't make any sense to me because, of course, my experience of Wicca is Gardnerian, and most people, that's not their experience of Wicca. So ours are really different. When people are critical of Wicca for particular reasons, I usually have no idea what they're talking about because that's not part of my Wicca. So anyway, I'm rambling, but I'm thinking about communities and what it means to be part of a community and what our obligations are when we're part of a community. Can you opt out of a community? Are you part of a community just by virtue of adopting the word pagan or whatever your word is? Anyway, I'd be curious what other people think. Have you experienced a lot of difference between online and physical spaces? Do you prefer one over the other? Do you see continuity between the two? What are your obligations in participating in these communities, etc.? I just think it's an interesting conversation, and I'm always curious what other people think. So if you want to hear me ramble more about community, just in case, you can go to my blog and read my ramblings. But anyway, Free Spirit was great. All is well. Oliver is around here somewhere. I have wine, so all is right with the world. Hope you guys are doing really well, and happy summer solstice, happy midsummer to those of you who are so inclined. And that is all.